Next, I would like to invite up to the podium Joe Cruz of Cruz Financial. He is the Siouxland Chamber of Commerce Board Chair, and he's going to introduce South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem.
Thank you. It's my honor, Kristi. So, Governor Kristi Noem is a wife, a mother, a rancher, a farmer, and a lifetime business owner. In 2007, she was elected to the South Dakota. Did I say something wrong? And grandmother. Yeah, recent grandmother as well. She was elected to the South Dakota House in 2007. In 2010, after serving several years for the state legislature, she was elected South Dakota's lone member in the U.S. Congress. And during her time in Congress, in addition to the many other successes, Governor Noem helped pass the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which effectively put $2,400 in each and every family in South Dakota. In 2018, with the platform of protecting the South Dakotans against tax increases, government growth, federal intrusion, government secrecy, she was elected South Dakota's first ever female governor. As governor, Noem has respected the rights of her people by trusting them to exercise their personal responsibility, to make the best decisions, not only for their family, their loved one, and hence for their communities. I think the biggest evidence of that was her response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Governor Noem never ordered any business to close, no churches to close, and no state-mandated lockdown. Despite all of this, Governor Noem often says that her greatest accomplishment is her 3 children, Cassidy, Kennedy, and Booker, and along with her husband, Byron. All have a deep love of their family, but more importantly, the love of the Lord. So, my pleasure to introduce her. One other thing I must add is I've hunted with her, and she's a heck of a shot with a shotgun. So.
Well, good afternoon. It's good to see all of you. Joe and I were talking a little bit if we've had a chance to go hunting much lately, and I haven't. So we should have that contest again. You may best me this time. But we were talking earlier about things we're proud of, and I have a daughter named Cassidy and son-in-law named Kyle that just gave me a grandbaby a week ago. And her name's Adeline West Peters. So probably the one thing that you're all going to get really tired of me talking about in the near future is being a grandma, because I absolutely love it. And I was sitting here watching some of the slides during lunch and wondering why I didn't send you some pictures to put up there, because of course you would want to see her. At every meeting I go to now, I'm sure my staff is ready to kill me, because I'm constantly going, they'll say, congratulations on the new grandbaby, and I'll say, oh, I'm sure you want to see pictures. And I'm flipping through my phone, and it's taking me much longer to get through my meetings. But, every day, the decisions that we make as governors is with those kiddos in mind. It just is. And I think we've recognized in this country that we have challenges, but we also have a lot of opportunities in front of us. And I am so incredibly grateful to have partners like Kim and Pete. You guys don't even know how special this conference is, how special it is to have 3 governors that don't just live in neighboring states and make decisions that impact communities that are right next to each other, but we're all friends. And we know we can have candid conversations with each other. They both were governors before I was, coming in as a new governor that had obviously been running businesses and farming and ranching and been in Congress, but I'd never been a CEO of a state before. Their experience and their heart for people, and the fact that I could just pick up the phone and call them and ask them any silly question that was in my head that day, meant the world to me. So this kind of a conference with 3 governors that are friends, that have your best interests at heart, I think is really remarkable. And I don't know if that happens anywhere else in the country. I really don't. And it is a special thing for us to be here. And I want to thank the Siouxland Chamber for creating an opportunity for us to come together and visit with all of you too, because frankly, I miss them. It was hard talking just on phone calls once or twice a week. We like to see each other. We spend time together. We enjoy each other's families. And that really is what our jobs are about. We're in the people business. We're in the people business and doing what's best for all of them. So South Dakota's doing great. We really are. When I ran for governor, I talked about South Dakota being an example to the nation. I didn't really know it would happen through a pandemic. You've probably heard a lot of people talking about South Dakota, and maybe sometimes not in very nice terms. But I've always believed that South Dakota's small, and because we don't have a lot of people, that we could do things that other states can't do. We can be a little more nimble, and we can do pilot projects and different things and really show that a lot of the values that we hold, a lot of the conservative beliefs that we hold really do create opportunities for families and for businesses to be successful. My 2020 State of the State address, which always happens in January, the title of that was Open for Business, which is ironic because when you look at 2020, we saw a lot of businesses be impacted and closed by different things that were happening across the country. But South Dakota and Nebraska and Iowa led the country in really being responsive to people and their needs and protecting public health while also protecting our economies. And in our state, we have done incredibly well. South Dakota was always successful, but we weren't growing. We weren't recruiting people to our state. We weren't recruiting businesses very aggressively. And when I became governor, that's what I wanted to focus on. Now, today in South Dakota, we are the state that lost the least amount of hours by any worker in the country during the pandemic, least amount of wages by any employee, the least amount of businesses that closed during the pandemic. We had a very low unemployment rate, just like our neighboring states, and we ended 2020 with the fastest and highest growing GDP at 9.9%. So we have historic revenues coming into the state of South Dakota. We don't have an income tax, we don't have a corporate income tax, we don't have a personal property tax, we have a 4.5-cent sales tax in our state, and that's really where the majority of our budgeting dollars come from. And when we went into legislative session, the battle was over what are we going to do with these hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that we didn't necessarily plan on because so many people came to South Dakota and visited last year or moved there. And I think that's the decision-making that each of our states made that really shows and reflects our values. Pete and Kim made the exact same decisions on investments that we did in South Dakota. We put a lot of money into trust funds, recognizing that would give us ongoing revenue in the future and stabilize our economy. We have a AAA credit rating, very proud of that, our low tax, low regulatory environment. We also put a lot of money into reserves, so we have trust funds we use, but we also have reserves and increase the amount of dollars that we put in there. And then we put long-term investments into infrastructure. I wanted the decisions that we made with those dollars not just to go to benefit us for the next 1 to 2 to 3 years. I wanted it to benefit us for the next 30, 40, and 50 years. So we, when I became governor, asked the legislature to put $10 million into broadband to build it out for the entire state so every home in the state could be connected. That was a battle. That first legislative session to get them to prioritize broadband and high-speed internet access was tough. This year, they fully funded the 10-year project in 1 year. So the entire state now will be wired with high-speed internet, and they put over $100 million in to participate and partner with federal dollars and private companies to make sure that we get every home and every business in the state connected. I was talking to my tourism secretary the other day, and we were going over some of the data and numbers that we see, because we have millions of people coming to our state, millions of people visiting our parks. We're selling record number of hunting licenses, fishing licenses. People are enjoying the outdoors. And we were going over some of the national statistics. And one of the things that he shared with me is he said for decades, when people Googled where they wanted to live or where they wanted to vacation, what they would Google would be beaches, tropical vacations, usually centered around big city areas and areas that were warmer than probably our region. For the first time in the last 12 months, the number one areas that people are Googling on where they want to live and where they want to go on vacations is rural America and small towns. So that is what America is hungry for right now, is what we have. And the people, the thousands and thousands of people that are moving to South Dakota, and I'm sure to Iowa and Nebraska as well, they're not moving to South Dakota because of our weather. And we don't have any beaches for them either. They're moving because they want to be like us. They want to live somewhere where the government respects them. And they want our way of life and our values. So we do have an opportunity here to tell our stories. and recruit really the people and the families that share our values, that want to come and be a part of our way of life. In our state, we have less than 2,500 people in the entire state that are on unemployment. I've got over 27,000 open jobs. So my problem is that my economic development commissioner, Steve Wester, is being too much of a rock star. And we've got companies coming and moving to our state to build and expand, but we need the workforce to go with them too. And so we are specifically targeting workforce needs that we need to get people from other parts of the country to move to South Dakota. And it is working very well, but we do have some growing pains. So our biggest challenge is getting people trained. I've talked to Kim and her team a lot about their apprenticeship programs. They've been a model for us in what we can build out in the state of South Dakota, and that has been fantastic, and we're going to continue to do that on steroids to get people the training they need to fill our jobs. Cutting regulations, which Pete has identified every single regulation in every single state in the entire country that should not be there. And he's great for giving me new ideas on how we can streamline and get more people into jobs. But for us, it's going to be specifically messaging to people to recruit the workforce that we need. And we've got people not just moving to Sioux Falls or the Dunes area or to Rapid City. People are moving to our smallest towns, to Lemon and Faith, South Dakota. My hometown of Hazel has about 90 people in it, and they've recruited three new families in the last 6 months, and they are thrilled. They haven't seen that kind of growth in 50 years. So it's really fun to see people moving into areas that before we saw our small towns dying. And we saw schools closing up and stores shutting down on Main Street and the way of life changing, and people are seeking that kind of life that we can still offer. The people that are moving to Rapid City and some of those areas say, this feels like Denver used to feel 25 years ago. And that's why I came here. So that's what we offer in this region and what we can do for people. And I think partnering with our neighboring states on telling the story of rural America and our way of life is incredibly powerful right now. Housing is our biggest challenge. Most of my contractors, if you want something built, you're going to wait 3 or 4 years for it. That's how tied up they are in building homes and developments, but we're being creative in how we do that and how the state can partner, and that'll be our big initiative this next legislative session, is making sure that we do that and then targeting those specific industries that we need the skills and talent for. I did 1 week of national advertising about five months ago. Across the country. Well, actually, it started probably, Ian, back when we saw the riots and violence happening in a lot of the cities. I asked my team if I could do a week of national advertising to police officers and law enforcement and say, if you want to come and live somewhere in a community that respects you, that appreciates your service, and that the families and communities will wrap their arms around your family, then move to South Dakota. And in 1 week, we got 900 applicants from 41 different states of law enforcement officers that said, I'm moving to South Dakota, and I want to be there in that state where we know and value those who step up and serve to protect our public. So that was such an overwhelming response, and some of them didn't even move and take law enforcement jobs. They just came and wanted to be with us and took different kinds of jobs. But we're doing that in the tourism industry now, in the hospitality industry. If you love taking care of people, if you're a chef, if you love being a waitress, come to South Dakota. Here are the opportunities. We're matching you with the jobs. We'll go on and continue to do that from industry to industry to get the workforce that we need that really appreciates our way of life and know that when you come here, we'll get you a job, we'll get you a home, we'll get your kids in a wonderful school, and we'll take care of you. So we're doing well. We're also doing well because of our relationships. And that's what's so special about being here today with all of you is that we appreciate what we have. I appreciate my partners and my friends so much. God's been good to us, and we are incredibly blessed, and I'm looking forward to hearing all of your discussions today and new ways that we can go after new opportunities to do things in innovative ways that benefit our state. So thank you, Siouxland Chamber, for hosting this. It's going to be a wonderful day.